Justin Welby has been forced to apologise for his apology. The disgraced Archbishop of Canterbury, whose reputation will forever be in tatters, stood up in the House of Lords and humiliated himself. To be clear, Welby was forced to resign after it emerged that he didn't report a prolific paedophile and child abuser to the police. This is a big deal. Countless boys and young men were raped, tortured and beaten. Welby was made aware of the catalogue of abuse and he did nothing. He did nothing. OK? Well, if that was you, wouldn't you be so ashamed and embarrassed that you probably wouldn't want to show your face in public again? Well, not Welby. He's been socialising at cocktail parties, and yesterday he stood up in the House of Lords. This was his moment to apologise. This was his moment to show that he took this kind of stuff really seriously. What did he do?
If you want to make God laugh, make plans. Well, on that basis, next year I will be causing God more hilarity than anyone else for many years. If you pity anyone, pity my poor diary secretary, who's seen weeks and months of work disappear in a puff of a resignation announcement. The shame of what has gone wrong, whether one is personally responsible or not, must require a head to roll. And there is only, in this case, one head that rolls well enough. I hope not literally. One of my predecessors in 1371, Simon of Sudbury, had his head cut off, and it was then the peasants, the revolting peasants at the time, played football with it at the Tower of London. I don't know who won.
Insufferable, isn't it? Yeah. He's talking about child abuse here. Just look at the look on the face of that lady bishop next to him there, Sarah Mullally, the Bishop of London. She looks like she's just dying inside, doesn't she? She's probably quite jealous of Simon of Sudbury at this point. He wouldn't have had to listen to it, would he? I mean, Welby's trying to say that he's a martyr. No. A report revealed that there was a paedophile cover-up, OK? Now, Welby's got form for not taking this particularly seriously.
I've given it a lot of thought, I've taken advice, and no, I'm not going to resign for this.
Now, that turn of phrase there, when he said "for this," is something that the brave survivors say shows that he just doesn't get it.
The comment that really upset us as survivors was when he said, "I am not going to resign for this." There was something about the way he said "for this" that almost implied to us that he was trivializing and minimalizing the extent of our sufferings. Is it not enough that we went through what we went through?
I'll go as far as to say that I think that Justin Welby is quite a horrible man. He presided over dwindling church attendance numbers. He allowed illegal immigrants to use his church to break into Britain. He let the churches be shut down during COVID. He spoke out against Rwanda. But worst of all, is he behaving, do you think, like a man who really thinks paedophilia is an awful thing? Is he? He didn't report it. He said that he wouldn't quit over it. He seems to think he's a martyr. Now, Justin Welby did apologise for his performance in the Lords. Here's what he had to say. "I would like to apologise for the hurt that my speech has caused. I understand that my words, the things I've said, and those I omitted to say, have caused further distress for those who were traumatised and continue to be harmed by John Smythe's heinous abuse and by the far-reaching effects of other perpetrators of abuse. It did not intend to overlook the experience of survivors or to make light of the situation, and I am very sorry for having done so." Look, I still think that the best thing for Welby is if he disappears somewhere very far away, never to be seen again.
Using the internet without a VPN is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. We want to help protect you. This video's sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the VPN to help keep you safe. Now, you might be asking, what is a VPN? Well, a virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it shields your digital life from the eyes of those that are looking to exploit your private information. Whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network, such as at airports, coffee shops, friends' houses, or even in your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. Hackers that are connected to the same Wi-Fi network have the ability to to steal your personal data with ease. T-Mobile reached a settlement this year with the US Federal Communications Commission after they suffered data breaches in 2021, 22, and 23. In 2023 alone, over 37 million customers' data was exposed. And it's not just hackers to be concerned about. Information can be censored. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news content that you love. Private internet access is available for all platforms: Windows, macOS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one private internet access subscription to protect an unlimited number of devices at the same time. Plus, we've got a huge GBNews discount. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get 83% off PIA. That is under £2 a month, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to piavpn.com/GBNews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get thoughts from our wonderful panel this evening. Director at the Centre of Migration and Economic Prosperity, it's Stephen Wolfe. I've got senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Torbet. Stephen, I'll start with you. Look, that for me was absolutely astonishing, that really. I mean, he doesn't seem to be behaving like a man who... And I'm sure he will say he does take paedophilia very seriously. I'm not trying to drag him into that. But he's not really behaving like a bloke who does, is he?
He's not a man that's behaving like a decent man. Patronising, haughty, arrogant, self-serving. All of these come to mind. And some of it comes into the words that he used. He didn't use peasants' revolt. He used revolting peasants. That is the same language of Clinton when she said those things she said about the citizens of America, the same ones of the deplorables. It's that kind of mindset. And what I find fascinating is you use the words Simon de Sudbury, who was the Archbishop at the time, who lost his head in the Peasants' Revolt during a period in which you saw huge immigration into the country from 1066 to 1300, increased by 250%, in which farmers were attacked and had their lands removed, in which taxes were increased. And Simon de Sudbury did one thing. He supported the government over the Peasants' Revolt. What has this particular Archbishop done? Supported the government and all the changes that are very similar to that in this country. He needs to lose his head, if not his tongue, for the way that he speaks about people in this country.
Metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically speaking. Yeah.
I don't want to be arrested by it.
No. Ellie, what does this say of the type of person that Welby is, do you think?
But listen, I mean, it was a very distasteful speech. You know, listen, he might not have known the full information of what was going on. You know, you're head of a very large organisation, so it's highly possible that he did think that this case was reported to the police. But nonetheless, I mean, he really is, you know, he's more of a political activist than a theologian, right? I mean, this is not the first time that he's had to apologise for something that he said. Do you remember when he had to apologise for likening climate change to the Nazi Germany? I mean, he also likened Trump and Brexit to fascism. He also called the Rwanda plan ungodly. I mean, he's not exactly an aspiring person to be leading the church, is he?
No, indeed. And this is. He has, for obvious reasons, I mean, his former role, you know, kind of demonstrates, really, that you should be quite a nice guy, like you're an archbishop, right? That's it. And then I just look at this and I'm like, I don't think he necessarily is. And to be shown his face at cocktail parties, I mean, Ian Hislop told a fantastic story about how Welby just rocked up and was trying to say, well, I didn't really know about it. Ian Hislop said to him, well, was 4 years of lying about it not enough for you, Archbishop? And everything. He just doesn't seem to get it. Does this point, Matthew, to maybe something a bit bigger, the arrogance of that class of individual, do you think?
I don't know. We maybe shouldn't tarnish everybody with the same brush as him. I would say, to put it more bluntly, he's just a bit of a muppet. Like, you can't go around acting like this. And actually, I think there's something quite ironic about what is now a former man of the cloth not actually asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
If that's me, I wouldn't be able to sleep if I'd have known this had happened on my watch. And I think to not stand up is he had a total opportunity today to apologise properly and to say, I'm really sorry and I seek forgiveness from those that have been affected and I should have done more. And the other thing is, it's about deeds and actions, not words. He said in his original resignation, I am responsible, both institutionally and personally. And yet he's almost hinted today whether he actually is responsible, because he said, well, if I'm responsible or not, you have to go. So he's full of it, for want of a better term.
And making out that he's a martyr. But there's a wider point here, Stephen, I think, that, OK, we're a secular country, fine. We are a Christian country as well, and church numbers have been dwindling in the Church of England, and a lot of them have been dwindling under Welby's watch. There's a man there who is fined to sign the church up for £1 billion worth of slavery reparations. Remarkably, then it turned out, completely unrelated, of course, that his own family used to own slaves. There we go, talk about inherent guilt maybe there. But he doesn't seem to care too much about local parishes not being able to have enough people on the pews, being underfunded, people turning their back on the Church of England. And then you look at stuff like that he's put out there in the House of Lords today, and you think, has he actually been bad for Britain in that respect?
I think he's been very bad for Britain in lots of ways, not only because at the time that we needed in COVID, we needed a religious leader who was willing and capable to actually give us some hope, some aspirations, some ability to get through these issues. And instead, he closed the churches and criticised those in the local vicars for actually doing that and wanting to have it open. In many ways, the idea of criticising those people who voted for Brexit, as you said, and more than that, those who, like myself, believe in managed migration as being racist, creates a divide in this country. What we needed was his predecessor, Rowan, who was very much more a thoughtful theologian, capable of giving us the kind of words that are needed. He actually did pretty well, I think, at the wedding. Why couldn't he not carry on, do all that sort of thing when the people needed it? And instead, I take your point on this. Why is a man of the cloth not apologising deeply in the way that he should do? And that's why I think there's this arrogance. I disagree to an extent. I think there is a greater degree of people who have reached this plateau of power across our institutions who are totally ignoring the people and believing themselves as being far more. The Simon de Sudburys is a crucial element that's sitting through our current elite.
There are, look, I don't want to put a categoric figure on it because, by definition, unfortunately, when you're dealing with things like child abuse, etc., not everyone comes forward, quite possibly not all of those people still be alive today, etc. But there was a wide-scale child sexual abuse issue and violence against children scandal that took place there. And for those people, those brave survivors who came forward to reveal their own situations and really battled to try and get that story out and try to get justice, when you see someone like that stand up and seeming to be laughing and joking about, well, if one head's got to roll, those kids were beaten and abused. It's disgusting.
I know, and also we go, don't feel sorry for me, feel sorry for my diary secretary. What about the victims? I mean, it really is.
I think I was going to your point that he's actually going to miss out on the parties.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm upset.
Absolutely. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, I think he generally thinks only God can judge him, no one else, and so he can get away and say whatever he wants.
Well, it's exactly like you said there. Well, if you're going to feel sorry for no one's feeling sorry for you, man. No one. Who is like? There's like maybe 3 people around him that are like, oh, you've fallen on your sword, all of this stuff. That's it. They're the only people who feel sorry.
I think maybe Paula from the post office might be feeling sorry for him because he was a big backer of her, wasn't she? When she was doing the same thing.
Well, quite possibly. I mean, look, do you think that this is a bit of a sign that maybe the next person who is the Archbishop needs to, I don't know, just be a little bit more sound and not quite as woke, do you think?
I'm all for people being sound. I think maybe it opens up an interesting discussion of what place in society the church has. And, as much as I appreciated some of his political interventions when talking about child poverty and other things, I think, is there a need for the head of the church to be getting involved in Brexit necessarily or deeper policy discussions? Your role is to be there, I believe, to support people, to offer people, shelter potentially and other things. I think with Stephen's point, I appreciate what he said back, and I do think there is also a wider conversation to be said about how toxic institutions are in this country. And actually, is it any wonder that people don't come forward, whether it be, it's not quite the same, but you look at incidents and allegations at the BBC over several years, if there isn't a complaints process you have confidence in, this stuff is always going to foster. And there's only so long we can talk about bad apples if the whole orchid is going rotten.